hopes of paradise. Great title, even if I do say so myself. Oh yeah, before I go into the talk, I just have to advertise my event in April. There's, I think, 4 places left. Amelia wrote to me and said something like this: 4 rooms left to sleep at the hotel. That is from the 6th of April, I think, or the 7th of April. And also I do a Zoom talk once a month, and that's next weekend. So next Sunday is the Zoom talk. And it's a small group, so you can ask questions, and it's not recorded and not put live onto YouTube. So you can join that as well. Cool. I hope I did everything there. Okay, so before I go into the title of the talk, I'm just going to go into explaining what non-duality is. That is the most important bit. That is the excuse. The title is just the excuse for talking about non-duality. So non-duality is pointing to something that's here prior to everything else that's happening, prior to thoughts, to feelings, to ideas, to sensations. It's going back to ground zero, what you truly are. And for most people in this society, that part of experiencing is forgotten. What they believe themselves to be is a name, an idea, a feeling, a sensation, a story, and they're totally invested in that side of themselves, in the personal side of themselves. And they've forgotten the other part of themselves, that who they are is also source, the sourcey source, which is always here, it's never left them. And from being disconnected to that, there is a discontentment that arises in life. There is this seeking energy which arises. So not connecting, so not knowing who you are, creates a discomfort with the experiencing. So non-duality to me isn't talking about making you a better person, improving your psychology, although I endlessly recommend it, and I personally have found psychology super helpful in my life. But that's not what it's talking about. That's like suddenly talking about if you had a better car, you would be happier, or if you had a taller tree in your garden, you would be happier. It's by and by. It's beside the point. It will make you most probably more calm and more happy and more able to relate to other humans and to have better communication skills and better ways of dealing with your work, with your social life, with your family. So it will reduce a lot of pain. But it's not what in non-duality would be defined as suffering. The suffering comes from the attachment to that person, the attachment to the psychology, and the attachment to the belief that freedom is found by getting something in the future and avoiding something that's happened in the past. So it's in getting a new house, that is your freedom, or avoiding bad things happening, an earthquake happening. Whereas these are pleasures and pain. And this isn't just singular to non-duality. In Buddhism, they talk about craving, this craving energy. And it's not the actual urge to get a house that's the problem. It's not the urge to make a life, have a partner, have children, to do things that's the problem. It's the belief, which is an energetic thing, that when you do that, you will be able to rest. So it's looking for source in a place where it can't be found, but it doesn't even know that it's looking for source. So right now, the question is, who is looking out of your eyes? So who is experiencing this reality? The thoughts say it's me, and me is something that goes in time. So me is what I've done, who I am, an idea, the voice in my head, the choices I make. It's kind of body-based. It's something that is being experienced. So you experience your desire to listen to this talk. You experience your desire to go and eat a cookie, and you experience your desire to want something. You also know the thoughts of your job or your title or your position in society. So what is it then that's experiencing that? Because none of that's experiencing, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see that, because it's being experienced. It cannot be the seer, just like the chair cannot be the seer. I mean, you could say it is in another sentence, but like you can say that like the computer can't be the seer because it's being experienced. So the body's being experienced, so that's not the experiencer. So anything that's being experienced is not the experiencer, because there's something that's watching that. So who and what is watching all of this and experiencing all of this? So who is hearing Lisa, seeing Lisa, experiencing Lisa? The thoughts, the ideas and the sensations are interpreting Lisa. So there is an interpretation process, but there's something that is conscious of that interpretation process. And this is who you truly are. So who is it that's experiencing this? What is experiencing this? So right now, the mind might be looking for something. It's looking to relax, to feel better, to get something from this situation. So just notice that there's something that's watching that, and there is this sense of I am beingness in which that's appearing in. And that dynamic of wanting something will come and go, but the I am and the empty looking, the watching, doesn't move. Yourself remains always, while everything else comes and goes. So notice the mind getting that. So notice that there's an activity of the mind, like seeking, seeking, seeking. And then there is this empty looking. And the empty looking is not separate from anything that it's looking at. So I don't appear outside of your empty looking. The computer doesn't appear outside your empty looking. The room doesn't appear outside your empty looking. Everything is the empty looking and that sense of I am. There's no distinction between objects and that. There is only seeming distinction because the separate self, the identity, claims that and makes it feel energetically like there is a limitation of this body. But when you explore consciousness and looking, you begin to realize that consciousness and things are one and the same thing. You can't separate consciousness from these things, and that this moment is all there is. Everything else is conjecture, is thought, is ideas. It's always appearing now. So that what's really important is what's here now. That's totally unsatisfying to the mind. The mind wants food for thought. It wants to do things. It wants to have things. It wants to own things. And there is a natural aspect to that. That's not all seeking. There's a natural aspect to grow. Everything is seemingly about growth in this manifestation. So the person wants to grow, but the seeking part, the identification part, comes from that is who I am. So becoming somebody that owns a house, having children, that is who I am. That's my identity, and I will find freedom in that. That's not your identity. That's form that appears. That's seemingly the identity. So you're looking through these bodies, but it's not who you are. Who you are is this moment right now. It's so free. And all it wants is itself. So this moment only wants itself, whatever is appearing. So you can call it love. Like whatever's appearing, that's what it wants. So you could say your true self loves everything, rejects nothing. It's in love with everything. It's right here, right now, and loves all things. Everything it's appearing, including sensations of discomfort. You could say that every thought, feeling, idea that you have is illusory. It's not really truth because it's all coming from a particular perspective. It's the same with sensation. It's all like the matrix of these bodies. So everything you're experiencing is not really truth. Okay, so we can go to, oh, I didn't fill it in with the title, did I? So the title is Non-Duality Giving False Hope? So it is giving false hope to the person. So the person is looking for freedom. The awakening, I think, changes the person. So there's a shift in the person, and then after the awakening, the person should keep trying to, or naturally try to expand that realization into its dynamics. But the idea for the person prior to awakening that non-duality is going to save them or is going to give them a paradise is a lie. It's not the person that wakes up. I can't iterate that enough. The person cannot wake up because the person doesn't exist. The person is a conglomeration of, I can't say that word, thoughts, feelings, ideas, sensations, energies, stories, narrations, choices, apparent past events, future events, titles within society. It's all these different things which are only arising now. So in every moment there is a chemistry arising and images arising, giving the appearance of a person that's subjective and interacting with the world, but it's only being produced in every moment. It's like smoke and mirrors. It doesn't actually inherently exist. It's an energy that arises with this body. And you can say like there's a character, so there's the character of Lisa which arises, which is seemingly consistent throughout the day and the week and the months and the years. But that isn't actually something that inherently exists. That's images, ideas, thoughts that are arising now. What always exists and what you always are is the I am and the empty looking. And that bundle of energy gets the idea, this is for me, I'm going to wake up. But it's not that wakes up. It's like there is a change from the person being the main and the only thing in focus to the person going into the background, and who you are right now is consciousness, is that empty looking. This is who you are. So yes, it gives false hope, but what to do? Anything that's spoken, the person will take into itself and be like, me, 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 me. It's the way it goes. Okay, so we shall do questions. So you can either ask questions through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12, or you can ask questions through the YouTube chat. But please, in the YouTube chat, put call me. Thank you. Hi Lisa. Does your breathing stop for sometimes as we hear huffing sounds in gaps? I think that must just be the microphone. I don't think my breathing stops. Could be. Question. You say there's not distinction between objects and the empty looking and the I am, but you also say that thoughts, feelings, sense perceptions are illusory. So are they real or not? Everything is illusory. Like imagine if you saw this world through the perspective of a bee, the world would be completely different. And which world would be correct? The bee's world or our world? Everything's illusory. However, thoughts are more funky than inanimate objects because they're at the table, so it seemingly takes a form from our perspective as a human as a table. But thoughts are like this ethereal thing that are coming and going. And then there's the narrator that's like, yes, this is me, here I am, I'm loving life. What can I do with life? What can I do with the other person? Should I go and have sushi now? McDonald's? So it's having a good old yarn. That person did this person did that. And then it sort of goes, and then it changes its mind, it changes thoughts. It's like they're more like puffs of smoke arising, or clouds in the sides in the sky constantly changing shape. At least the table seemingly stays one shape, but it could be many things. Like the table could be wood. We could describe it as oak, as wood, as table, as molecules, as water, I'm sure as well, as paint. There's paint on this table. Dan, question. Are you aware that you are as much who I am as I am? When I ask this question, I'm being asked the question as well. Once again, you answered this before it posted. I'm posting it anyway. If we take the I am as meaning like the absolute I am, not the I am something, so the beingness, the aliveness, the presence that's here, that is the same I am. The same consciousness and same I am is looking through all, which is crazy. We don't know how it's done. It's miraculous. It's mind-boggling. This world doesn't seem like it appears to us humans. Us humans is a very limited perspective. But if you imagined it like a paper bag, and if I had a paper bag and then I put a light in the paper bag and I poked lots of holes in the paper bag, you would have like 30 holes, say, of light coming through. But if you looked inside, there's one light. And that's what these beings are like. And we don't know how it's being experienced. We just know this experience. I mean, there could be anything happening. Like life is so mysterious as to what or how this is being experienced and how this is playing out. And time is such a weird thing. Like we made up the concept of time and we act as if it's real, but science proves that time isn't linear like we think it is, and it does all types of strange things. The same with space. Although I can't explain it to you now. That's like a unknown thing here. It's too confusing, science. Or there's too much to learn. You'd have to spend a lot of time learning these things. Ted. Thank you for all you do, Lisa. My experience is non-duality is more pervasive with my inner experience, but less so with my eyes open in the visual field. Any suggestions on this? It's most probably because you're used to an energetic constraint with looking. So there is an easy projection onto looking, that my looking ends here and that the rest of the world is over there. And then there's more relationship that happens with objects. So there is a me in here, an illusory me in here, that is in relationship with that chair, with that table, with that person. So when you're sitting quietly with the eyes closed, you're not really having so many relationships with objects. So it seems easier to meditate or to stay with who you are. But it's the same with eyes open. It's just that it's there is a part that's used to relating to them and identifying with them. It's so confusing, this subject, eh? We can't quite get it right. With what we say and what we think. But maybe that's a pointer, like so right now is exactly the same as eyes shut. There's just colors happening, there's just things happening. Can you speak about pain in the sacral chakra? What does it signify? Shame? How to heal? Hey Ben, the pain in the sacral chakra tends to be more fear, a sense of disempowerment, anxiety. I mean, I always think it's a good description. Like, so in English they say you shit your pants, and it's kind of like when you have the emotion of fear, it's like in the bowels, it's like down there, and you kind of shit yourself, you kind of have pain there, you kind of feel sick to your stomach. It's like a fear and anxiety. Shame tends to be, for me, but it might be different for you, you can explore, it tends to be more in the solar plexus. Yeah, there's so many things that you can do to heal it. First of all is seeing who you truly are, that sensation is not who you are. Who you are is the I am and the empty looking. And this practice of putting the attention in the I am or the empty looking and allowing that to be, allowing the pain to be while you're practicing putting the attention in the I am. And what this is doing is it's stopping the mind going out in so many different directions. So it's kind of like an embodiment, like coming back to the body, coming back to this experience and stopping the mind like having lots of projections into the past and the future. So that's one thing. And then the next thing is to explore it. So you can lay there and you can, or sit and you can use thoughts to try and explore it, like what that is saying to you, what voices it has. What does it want? What does it not want? How old is it? That's quite hard to do if you're not used to it, but you do this by putting your attention there in that place. You can poke it or put your hand on there to try and evoke it feeling. And then trying to see if there's thoughts or ideas stuck in that place. Like, what is that saying? I'm afraid. Could be a pre-verbal thought. You know, what colors is it? Is the images that arise with it? This is just one way. This is my preferred way of working, but there's many others. You can go to my reference page and there's many other ways of working with energies and feelings and sensations. Someone has Skyped me a question. If you want to call, you're so super welcome. Just put call me in Skype and I will call you. Although I have to say, I haven't got my speaker here. Pas bien, Lisa. I'd have to get up. Hey Thomas. So Amit. Hi Amit. Hi Lisa. Amit this side. Hello Amit this side. how you know whether you are whatever you're describing is ultimate truth. I don't. But I also don't even think about that or concern myself with those thoughts. It's home. The I am and the empty looking is home. But there could be, like, that is an unknown thing. It's here, it's looking, experiencing, but I can't, as a Lisa character, turn around and look to see what that is. It just is here, experiencing everything. And then the idea that it's ultimate truth or not ultimate truth, I know I call it the absolute, but this is slightly different. Like, the ultimate truth is an idea that arises and disappears in that. I can't even begin to fathom what could be an ultimate truth. I know I distinguish between the absolute and the relative. That's a way of speaking, and I don't think you're talking about me speaking about the absolute and relative. You're saying, how can you know that what you're saying is the ultimate truth? I don't even know if I know what the ultimate truth is, but I don't even know if I care. There is just a part which is home, and that's what's being expressed here. Thanks, Amit. Hey, Nick. Hi, Lisa. It'd be great if you could touch on a message I sent you a couple of months ago. Sure, Nick. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for what you share. I've recently been using the word this as a symbol and reminder of the ever seamless now. It seems to bring clarity on what's happening and in turn seems to dissolve the illusory self. Do you have any thoughts on that word or the use of it? Thanks. If that's what floats your boat or works, then that's beautiful. If that seemingly dissolves things. What you're doing is you're doing a practice. The person is doing a practice. So I recommend doing the I am practice, but you're doing a this practice, and that's just as good. It's basically bringing the personal awareness back to the present moment. So you're putting the personal awareness into the attention. So into the attention of what's happening. My friend used to say, put the attention in the attention. I quite like that. So you're putting the attention in the attention. So you're putting the personal awareness in itself and trying to stay present rather than drifting off into thoughts and ideas and illusions. And that's super helpful for the person. Know that consciousness is watching that. So that's not you going back to the absolute. The consciousness is conscious of that. So any movement that's happening in the world is a personal movement. But it's really good that the person does that because it's stopping it going out into so many of its illusions. And then at some point, something else presents itself, like grace presents itself. Like, so there is a shift from being identified with that person to this absolute looking. This is it. So if this works, go for it. You can investigate, what feels insecure with that. It's super healthy to do it. A lot of teachers recommend it, and you can feel the healthiness of it. It can also be painful because the ego wants to get lost in its stories. It wants to keep going into what it's deficient of, what's wrong with it, what's its problems, it's whose fault it is, why you're unhappy. And so coming back to this moment, the ego is like, or the thinking mind is like, a bit like a minion. Like one of the minion memes that was like, they're so disturbing memes sometimes, like the way they repeat themselves. But it's kind of like that, the mind. So it's, it's insidious. So it is painful. Keep putting the attention back in presence and this. We're not talking about a disembodied this, and we're not talking about disassociating. When you come back to this, it's totally embracing everything that's happening in the body. So what the mind is doing is actually trying to avoid what's happening in the body. It's all so complicated and hard to explain. So the person is made up of relationships. So the illusory self is made up of the relationship. And the first relationship is that I'm a person in here relating to a person out there. And then there's a relationship with your computer, with your kitchen, with food, with your animals, with the sunlight, with the grass, with gardening, with your work. So everything becomes a relationship. And the problem with relationships in our society, so the human relationships in our society, which then go into work and your goals, your dreams, is that most relationships are very dysfunctional. Like if you've ever gone down the path of therapy, you begin to realize like how dysfunctional relationships are, because most people aren't being authentic, they're playing a game. And then you get people that are playing the game from an abusive perspective, from a manipulative perspective, and then you get the perspective of people that are just playing a game from a very unconscious perspective, but they're not trying to abuse or get power, but they're just very unconscious about what's happening. And these games that everybody's playing with each other are so complex and confusing, and everybody's not being honest, but they don't know they're not being honest because it's happening on a subconscious level. So the problem is because your sense of self is based on relationship, your sense of self is kind of a bit crazy. Like it has crazy ideas about things and dysfunctional ways of relating. So when you start doing this presence thing, it's also making you come back to what you felt prior to this ego being grown. So prior to this illusory ego being grown. And then on top of that, it's got all the discomfort from the illusory ego. So there's like a lot of discomfort that appears in the body. So the mind is like, get me out of here, alarm bells. It was like when I phoned the emergency service by accident just before this talk. It's like, get me out of here, beep, 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 problem. Because not only has it got the discomfort of what it feels in this moment from whatever it's narrating, it's got the discomfort from all these bizarre relationships and untruths and lies it's been telling itself since it was born. And people aren't conscious of this, so they're not conscious that in a relationship they're seeking to get love from a person. And through not being conscious of this and through having this dynamic, they start playing out all types of bizarre things. They need to get that person's attention, so they start creating art or painting things in order to show off and get this person's attention, or they start really exaggerating who they are, trying to be funny, all types of things in order to get this attention from the person that they love, or they want to love them, or they want to like them. And through that, then that affects the other person, and then the other person has all their prejudice, all their ideas, all their conditions, and all their responses coming up. And then there's this like game of discomfort that's happening. And this is happening in most relationships, and you're projecting it onto all inanimate objects as well. So a lot of people, what they do is they just get, by the end of the day, they're so confused and so uncomfortable, they just drink lots of alcohol just to numb it out. Or they really disassociate from their body because they can't cope with the discrepancy. But what it does is it makes you dead, and it makes suffering, and it makes the mind go crazy, like never stop. It's like because in order to stay out of the body and out of the feelings, the mind has to work overtime. So putting the attention back in the I am, or in this, I mean, it can be rather uncomfortable in the beginning, and that can last for many years. I mean, some Buddhists would even say lifetimes, because there is a lot of discomfort to sit through and accept and not act out of and try to divert. Then what happens at some point is that dense cloud of all the illusions of the mind separates enough, and then the light of who you are, the consciousness and the I am, sees itself again. It recognizes who it is, and then there is a shift energetically. And then after that realization, then there is an integration, because the person has a habit, a momentum of a way of being, but now there's a different way of seeing, so it changes the person. Yeah. So it's intense, like this subject is intense, waking up is intense, and you know, sometimes I think I make it seem like it's really easy, but it's not. It's difficult. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do in this life. It's way harder than becoming rich. Thanks, Nick. Okay, we have someone that wants to call in, which is great. But I just have to get my speaker. It is not here. One moment. So, approver. Murphy. Okay, yeah, approver, I will call you now. I just have to, oh, I got the wrong speaker. Ah, sorry, friends. Disorganization. Okay, right speaker now. One second, I just have to turn the volume off to stop it. Hello.
So glad you. Oh, it. I simply wanted to connect with you. I have always loved your talks.
Oh,
I've been
nice.
listening to you for a while now.
Oh, great. Nice to
Yeah.
meet you.
The voice is breaking a little from your side.
Hey, yeah, I might not have, oh, I know why that is. Just 1 second. Settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going in the right place, but it might be because my internet connection's not good enough. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes. I can hear you well.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I have been listening to non-duality and reading about enlightenment, everything for a while now. I think for years, and intellectually I get it all. I mean, I've been there too, energy-wise, a few times, especially thinking about death. Imagining death has pushed me to the edge, right?
Yeah.
But then, I mean, the first time I imagined death, that I won't be there. None of anything right now remains. No attachments. Everything's going away. That kind of it really pushed me to the edge, and then my body obviously stopped it. There was a lot of resistance to that. It didn't let it go all the way. So after that, I've been trying to do the same, and it just doesn't let me go there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like it's really grace, this waking up. But yeah, imagining death. I mean, this is a very strong practice, I think, in Tibetan Buddhism, because it's mind-boggling that we're alive. In a way, there is death happening now, but it's just that the mind is repeating a story which makes it feel like death isn't happening now. So in a way, there is nothing happening now. There are seeming images happening, but there is nothing. But what's appearing most probably in you as well is the idea of a place that you want to arrive at. The person wants to arrive at a particular place, which is the absence of itself. So just noticing that there is the arising and the discomfort of that. And it's kind of allowing that from a deeper perspective. So from the perspective of looking, from the perspective of consciousness and the perspective of I am, it's not concerned that there is that seeking arising. So it's kind of being very attuned to seeing that seeking energy arising, but knowing that there is still presence here, there is still freedom here. But the seeking energy makes it feel like there isn't freedom here.
Yeah.
So just noticing that polarities. Yeah. And I think it's really beautiful to reflect on these things, but it's like anything. If you try to repeat it with this subject, it doesn't work. That grace, that shift will happen when it happens. And what you can do is just keep presenting yourself. So you can keep reflecting on death and keep moving the attention back to the death of what is right now, that in reality there is nothing happening here. And then when that energy shifts, it will shift. If there was like a magic button, we would all be pressing the button, I think.
Yeah, I think it doesn't come with a sense of wonder anymore. It's just again an intellectual level question that I'm posing.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So in the previous talks, I've heard that you've been in very challenging situations. You've been in protests and you've traveled a lot. do you think it helped that, it helped you in any way to wake up? Sorry, I have a bad throat.
Oh yeah, no problems. I can hear you well. In a way, you can't really separate one thing out from another. So, I mean, the answer, I suppose, is I don't know. But if you look at the story of anything, you can't separate like what could or should or wouldn't be. Like it was like the flow of Lisa's story was perfect. It couldn't have been any other way. So I think that that's like one of these wormholes which are fun to entertain of what could have been. Could it if I had chosen this, like the different reality, whereas there could never be a different reality, there can only be the one that's appearing right now. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know in that regard. I mean, if I was going to go into the story and look at anything, I would say that one of the qualities of the Lisa personality was a fixation and a dedication.
Yeah. I get it.
Like a fixation and a dedication to this subject, but I don't.
Yes, I've heard you mention this in the previous videos too.
Yeah.
That you were obsessed with a particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
So, I guess years ago, right? Like when I was around 18 years old, I had, I made a set of rules for myself, which were all, discipline for freedom. Have a certain set of rules. So with that kind of discipline comes freedom. Just to protect my boundaries. And my way of dealing with things, I honestly don't know how to say this, but my way of dealing with discomfort and any kind of uncomfortable situations were to I love this view of hills and nature and valleys, all of that. So I'd be like, I just don't belong here. That's where I'm at. I don't know how to say this, but I think like I kind of identified with that sense of feeling, right? So it actually cleared a lot of mess for me, and all this acceptance and surrender, all that actually happened like with regard to like I'd be in jail and I'd accept it. It was like that.
Yeah.
But then I was like, if I don't if I don't protect my boundaries, and if I don't do any if I don't do any of this, then what? And then it happened.
There wasn't a shift? What happened?
There wasn't any shift because I didn't know about I didn't know I didn't know these concepts about personality and non-duality, none of that. I didn't know that, but I just instinctually knew how to clear up things for myself.
Yeah. I think I got a little confused in what you were saying. I think I just got a little lost in what you were saying.
Okay.
But maybe you can just summarize it again.
Okay, sure. I'll try and okay. So what I'm saying is that I just took refuge in a nice, pleasant feeling which represented freedom for me,
Yeah.
like nature,
Yeah.
and that's where my identity was.
Mm.
Right? So for every problem that came in the way or discomfort, there weren't any serious problems in life at that point.
Mm.
So it kind of solved itself right there, because I stepped out of the problem saying, thinking about, like, just not identifying with it.
Yeah.
So, and then I said, maybe if I didn't have these boundaries, if I dropped all these boundaries, then what?
Mm.
Yeah. And from then on, I think what I'm trying to say is, I realized it was all inclusive. Like, it just cannot, it takes a lot of effort to, I don't know how to explain this. I'll just leave it here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand fully what you mean.
Yeah, so I guess it's all about grace, right?
It's all about what, sorry?
Grace.
Yeah, it is. Everything is grace. There is seemingly somebody that is doing things, so there is a character which can make things better, like you said, seemingly make things better.
Yeah.
But in the end, that shift is grace.
Mm-hmm.
Because the character is a play that's happening in this, and that shift is beyond this. It doesn't belong to the character. And the character directs things, so you can make your life better, you can make your life more peaceful.
Yeah. Get it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. How do you say your name, just so I know for next time?
Apurva.
Apurva.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, lovely to speak with you. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Cathal. How important for you is your environment for conductive practice? Do you think for going through certain stages of practice it's best to be around the Sangha and then go to solitude and so on? I'm at my parents' and I'm feeling I've been here way too long. I feel dulled down by behaviours around me and struggle to remain in my own presence. I get affected by whatever people are doing. Yeah, freedom is in everything. So freedom is in jail, freedom is in dysfunctional families, freedom is everywhere. Because there is consciousness, so there is experiencing, so it's there. But the person is always relating. So the character is relating. So if you're relating in dysfunctional relationships, then the character is going to have an element of dysfunction to it and an element of pain, and it will most probably create more seeking. So without them pushing your buttons, there'll be less seeking. But to say being in a cave or being in Sangha would not push your buttons, whereas your family pushes your buttons, and that is better not having your buttons pushed, we don't know the outcome. Everything is an investigation, so it's fascinating to investigate your relation to your family, because they've taught you how to think and how to see the world. You might not want to believe that, but they've had a huge impact on you, so it is a place for investigation. However, equally, there is a time to stand up and step out, and I'm not commenting on what you should do, because this is something you need to work out for yourself. And if you're finding it too hard to work out for yourself, then it's best to speak to someone one-on-one, like a therapist, or you can speak to a non-duality teacher and explore what's going on in you. And everybody's so different. But the ultimate truth is that freedom is in everything. It's there in the pain of the disharmony and the chaotic communication. It's in all. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Hey, Shuman. Hi, Lisa. Thank you very much for today's talk. The Australian Aboriginals say we have 3 brains. One is in the head, another in the heart, and another in the gut. I know that Adyashanti talks of 3 types of awakening that can occur in each center. They remind me of Ramakrishna's statement of the blind man believing a small part of the elephant's body they could feel was the revelation of the whole elephant. I wonder if you have any comments on this. I ask as I don't think I'm in touch with my heart and gut as I am with my head. I'm trying to get in touch with these centers. Love, Shuman. Hey, Shuman. Yeah. So I would say the heart is the I am. I don't know what the gut part would be, but I understand from the human perspective, like not having much attention in the gut and in the heart. But the heart is the I am, and it's a feeling of love. And then you've got the empty looking that's here, looking through all the senses, experiencing through all the senses, and is everything that experiences. The reason that the heart and the gut get cut off is because you don't want to experience what they're saying, or the thoughts, the person, the character doesn't want to experience what they're saying. So if you've been brought up in a dysfunctional family where you've been very suppressed, your needs and wants have been very suppressed, or the other person has been very overbearing, in order for you to survive and not to pop with anger at their behavior, there has to be a cutting off. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you popping with anger, but just laughing at that expression and just the idea of it. But there has to be a cutting off from those sensations. So say if you're in a relationship with someone that's being very passive aggressive or very domineering, and there's no room for you to assert yourself in any way, then your option is to leave the situation, which you can't do as a child, or to remain, but you have to cut off from that. It's too painful to acknowledge that. How do you carry on relating unhealthily if you're aware of it, if you're conscious of it? So this is why we cut off from our body most of the time, because we can't deal with the reality of what the emotions are saying, and we don't know how to navigate it with the seeming outside world, and there's no advice around us that helps us integrate them both. So then all the attention goes to the head and we rewrite the story. And this is where it begins to get very abstract, because the story then becomes about something completely different. So say if someone is being passive aggressive to you, you might interpret that as love in the thoughts. They are loving you, they're caring about you, they're being sweet. But underneath in your body, there is a knowing, and there is a boundary being crossed, and there's a knowing that they're not being genuine. But because you've cut off from that story, your gut, and you don't want to hear that, you remain up there and you suppress that feeling. But in order to suppress the feelings of the body, of the negative feelings of the body, you have to suppress all the positive ones. So you just become a story, a walking around story and thought. It's just all about thoughts. And you lose things like, so not being in contact with your sacral chakra, you'll lose things like your strength, your power, your work ethic, your ability to do, anger, sensuality, sexuality. So all of these things will be lost. And ironically, what can happen is then, I'm not saying this for you, Schumann, but could happen is there can then be, when you're cut off from your body, an addiction to sexuality, because that is some form of feeling there. So it becomes like an addictive, but it's a dysfunction. There could be all types of things. There could be an addiction to eating. Yeah. So what you need to do is work out the subconscious and continuously put the attention in the I am, which concludes all sensations in the body. But you also need to work out what the subconscious is, like what your body is saying, what the feelings and the chakras are actually saying in the moment, which is really confronting, because it might mean that there are relationships or things that you're doing that aren't in line with what you feel. And that's really, really scary. Because if you imagine as a child, if you actually realize that your mother is being really unhealthy or your father is being really unhealthy, that would mean potential death for you. So it's like the ultimate fear to realize these things. So it's like a waking up, like the body has to wake up again. Thanks, Schumann, for your question. Hey, Joseph. Hi, Lisa. I have a question about increasing intent instances of self-realization and overcoming shame, guilt. Would like to call over Skype if possible. Sure, Ben. Yes. I will call you now. I just have to turn the volume off so not to hurt anyone's ear.
Hello?
Hey, Ben. You said you wanted to speak.
Yeah, I've just realised I'm watching the video and it's a bit
behind.
So I'm just going to close that a second.
Yeah.
Can you see me? I can't see you.
Yeah, no, sorry, I haven't got enough internet for you to see me because it's going to the stream.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. How you doing? Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Ben. Thank you for asking.
Okay, so the issue I'm having is I've had quite a few over the last 7 years. I've been kind of, I don't know what the word is, but like exploring non-duality as much as I can, and I've had a lot of experiences where I felt like it definitely was true, and I've had interactions with people where I felt like it was something really pure between me and them, and not the person anymore. Over the last 2-3 years, I've started developing loads of like shame and guilt, which has basically overcome 99% of my kind of day-to-day life. And I have instances of like where that dissipates, maybe like once every week or so. It gets into my voice, it gets into my face, I can't walk properly down the street, and as I'm walking down the street, I'm passing off all of this guilt and shame to people, and people are looking at me like I'm a freak. And so my question is, what's the have you heard of anything like this before, and have you got any advice about how to increase instances of self-realization or self-forgiveness? Because I have had them occasionally, and all of the shame leaves my face and leaves my voice and leaves my body, but then it returns within like 5-10 minutes, and I'm beginning to doubt the whole non-dual thing, because it happens so infrequently that I'm starting to worry that I'm kind of been cursed by the universe or by God for past actions, and that I need to repent and seek redemption. And so I'm in two worlds. I'm like, one in the world I'm trying to repent and seek redemption, and the other one I'm trying to actually realize that that's just that idea is the problem. And I don't know where. I know which. I have a feeling that you probably align more with that it's all in my head or all in my self-image.
I think. Have you ever worked with somebody one-on-one about this? Because I think it's too much to work on in a live stream, because it's too personal and it can end up traumatizing you. But have you worked one-on-one with someone?
Not with anyone that's like familiar with non-duality or anything like that.
You worked with a therapist though?
I'm talking to a counsellor at the moment.
And what type of counsellor is that?
I don't know what type of counsellor. I don't know, to be honest.
But did you get that through the doctors, or how did you come across her?
Through I'm living in I've been homeless the last 5-6 years, and I'm living in a supported accommodation, and they arranged it.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's great that they've done that. I think that that's too broad to discuss. There are so many things that could be happening for you. And, we'd have to really go into depth and really explore what's happening. So my best advice would be to work with an expert in shame and guilt and looking like that. It can be really crippling. I really understand that, and I really feel for you. And so the working with a counsellor, I think, is fantastic. There's also on my reference page, there is books that I have on there from therapists about shame and guilt. And so this would be my direction that I would advise you to go into, is to try your best to seek one-on-one consultation and learning as much as you can about the therapeutic process of healing shame and guilt. It's really deep, and it's very intense, and it can be, when it's real extreme, it can be very crippling. So it's very hard to act out your daily life. It can completely take over everything, can taint everything.
I can barely leave the house. And I want to work, and I want to live like a normal life, but I'm 34, and I'm worried that I'm going to end up like this forever. I don't know what's going to happen, so I just say I don't know and don't think about it. But one thing I have noticed, that there are actually people in the kind of non-dual spiritual community that have really similar symptoms to me. Russell Brand has really similar symptoms. I don't know if you watch him, but in his face, it's like there's something behind his eyes that is really scared and guilty about something, and there's I see it with other people as well.
But maybe better that we don't talk about other people online. I think it might be I think that this maybe is going a bit too far and a bit too personal for you. So I think it might be better that you just remain listening, but seek out as much as you can. So listen to the talks and listen to these different talks, but seek out as much as you can personal one-to-one help for this, and let people guide you, because I think at the moment it's very intense. So your lens is very blurred by these feelings and these sensations. But I think that us carrying on talking in this moment is most probably not beneficial for you. I think there's a possibility that it might increase these feelings for you.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, but I wish you all the best, and please check out
okay.
my website and the reference page, and you'll see lots of different speakers and teachers out there. And yeah, and I wish you everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
About Shane, because it seems quite like he's ringing some bells. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. That was very, very helpful. Thank you, Shaman. Yeah, so I can talk a little bit more shaman guilt for Ben. I felt like I said, it's most probably not best to have these conversations online for him, but I can speak more about shame and guilt. So, like, shame taken to the extreme or guilt taken to the extreme is absolutely crippling. It is really a crippling sensation. Roger would say, and Ramesh would say, it's like the cornerstone of doership. So it's like when it's really exacerbated, it's like you as a person are guilty for your actions in this life. So it's really not seeing the oneness of everything and how everything is in flow and it couldn't be any different. It's like absolute identification. But even in saying that, like that could be very shameful to somebody that's listening to this, because they're like, oh, another way in which I failed, another shame that I have to take on board. And so this is why I think if you have it to a really strong degree, it's better to speak to somebody one-on-one. Shame, it's such a fascinating thing, shame, because shame often stops us from reaching out and getting help. It stops us from doing things. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. I realised that it's best that I stop talking about it because I don't want to shame anybody that's having intense shame at the moment. So we shall move on. Hey Willard. Hi Lisa. How does it feel like to be enlightened? Do you feel love and peace always? What's the difference in being here and being unmanifested? I don't consider myself enlightened. Like, my personality can still have old seeking patterns coming up, old energies, old dynamics coming up. But there is a part which is connected to something or knows something much deeper and is free. So there is an element of experience which is in peace, even if the character isn't in peace. So there's that. And there is a connection to love, I would say, but it's not in the character world. Like, the character needs to feel angry at points and needs to feel afraid at points and needs to feel disgusted or all different emotions. So it's beyond the character. And what's the difference between being here and unmanifested? So I presume you are talking about being dead. I don't know what the experience of being dead is, but being unmanifested is impossible, because that's a thing and the unmanifested is not a thing. So that's an imagination. So unmanifested doesn't exist. But yeah, to make it even more bonkers, this moment is manifestation and non-manifestation simultaneously. Isn't that a head twister? A head twister. Okay. Question, Larry, isn't shame and guilt a result of other people's influence on you? Most probably. We don't know what we're born into this life with, but it's most probably a result of like childhood dysfunction. And the difficulty with childhood dysfunction is that if you've had, you know, very difficult childhood and very difficult parenting, then it's very common that you then will make mistakes in life and do things. So then it could exacerbate shame and guilt, you know. Yeah, difficult. Shame and guilt are just protective energies. Yeah. So he says, good luck, Ben. Yeah, we all wish you well, Ben. Why is fasting? Jordan. Hi, Lisa. It seems there is being who got huge energies and are able to awaken people at will. Have you heard about Alma, the hugging saint? There's so many miracles happening around her. Thanks. Yeah, I have heard about Alma, the hugging saint. Yeah. Yeah. It's normally a free gift. So you have these awakenings around people, and there's a taste of it. Yeah. But then that has to be integrated into the body. The body has to be, yeah, well, ready for it. Do we need anything other than dedication and faith, or do we need dedication at all if we have faith? These are complex questions. So that seems to arise in lots of people that are on this path. There's dedication and faith. But you've always got to remember that what's being sought is that which is here right now. So we have these ideas, okay, tomorrow I need dedication and faith. The next minute I need dedication and faith. There is a me that's going continuously through time with dedication and faith. And the whole time that's happening, there is this empty looking and this beingness. Right here. And that's free. It doesn't want anything. So what is it that's experiencing that person that's having resolution? Okay, I want dedication and faith, or I need that. That seems to be something that appears, and that's a good characteristic to be dedicated to putting the attention in the I am and being dedicated to explore the personal dynamics. But going back to basics, like, who is it that's looking at that person? Who are you? Jordan. Question, hi Lisa, what's your view on the guru with huge energies? I think you've asked that. Question from Namashiba. Hi Lisa, I had to deal with strong feelings of shame and guilt, sometimes self-hatred. Can you talk about something about this, please? Thank you. Wow, there's lots of shame and guilt coming up tonight here. I'm not laughing at people's shame and guilt. I'm just laughing that I tried to avoid it a little bit because I didn't want to trigger the shame and the guilt. in people listening, because it felt like it was a big energy coming up, and then it's like back, back, back. Yes, shame and guilt are often cornerstones of identification. To avoid shame and to get away from guilt, and the way that interlocks us into these illusory relationships that we have. Yeah, it's a big subject. But maybe it's now time to meditate for a bit. So I stopped doing the meditation at the beginning and started doing it at the end of the talk. So let's sit and meditate for the next 15 minutes. Yeah, thank you everybody for sharing. And I really appreciate people calling in. I really appreciate both of the callers. It takes a lot of bravery to do it in front of all these people. And yeah. And I just appreciate all the questions that people write in as well. It's such a beautiful thing, this subject, and it's such a brave path to tread, to go into it, and to be prepared to look at all the illusions of this life and see what is left. And this is left, this moment. Nice. And with meditation, you can do whatever you feel. In many other videos, I've talked about meditation and different practices, but so I just leave it free. I will put my little bell on. But yeah, you can do as you please. Nice. Okay, thank you everybody. It's so beautiful to share with you. If you found you got stuff out of this video and want to support me, then please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I really wish you everything, every goddamn thing.